Welcome to the Business Chop, where challenges, success, rewards, and solutions to entrepreneurship collide. Let's chop it up. Hello, Chop Squad. Our guest today is a life coach, a chocolate cake baker, and a candlestick maker. No, just kidding. I couldn't resist that, Ken. So seriously, folks, Ken is a father of 5 kids. His career took on a meandering route through call centers, sales organizations, and industrial environments until he found the love of helping people maximize their lives through coaching. He has written several books, including 21 Days to Success Through Networking, and most recently, Stupid Goals Blueprint, The Antidote to Toxic Smart Goals. His name is Ken Williams. So we're going to hear more on the other side of this message from Altogether Marketing.
Knock out your competition with Altogether Marketing. We elevate your brand. Take a stance with your business name, logo, the tagline, your colors, even the fonts for your business. And then jab left with your website, jab right with core values. Back up with product experience and bring it on with you. Visit altogether.biz and let us help you create a knockout brand.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to continue on and learning more about Ken Williams. He hosts the Unstuck Career Podcast, where he discusses ways to take the next steps towards the life you want. And he specializes in helping mid-career men who are at a career dead end. And he has discovered that stupid goals holds the secret to success. Welcome, Ken, to the Business Shop.
It was so great. I'm so glad. I'm grateful to be here.
All right, me too. Glad to see you. And so before we get into some serious stuff, name one or two personal fun facts, what you would like to share with us.
So personal fun fact for me is number one, you mentioned chocolate cake baker. I have made over 9,000 chocolate cakes in the last probably 15 years. And I do it almost every week. Just make them, give them away, have fun with it. So that's one fun fact. Another one is I was in the audience on The Price is Right when my brother was a contestant on The Price is Right, and he blames me for losing the showcase. He didn't pay attention to anything I said until the showcase, and he used the number that I told him, and that was too high. So he lost.
Oh, man. Sorry, brother. Better luck next time.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Yeah. That was fun, though, Don, to actually be there. That was cool.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was on Let's Make a Deal. So
fun.
During COVID, and they were doing the virtual one. So that was fun. All right. So let's get into some things just right off the riff. I'm going to just go right into the stupid goals and coaching philosophy. Oh, gosh. So what inspired you to develop the stupid, look, I can't even say it. I'm talking stupid, right? The stupid goals framework, and how does it differ from the traditional SMART goals?
I learned SMART goals as I was growing up, and specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, or relevant, and time bound. I could not get it to work for me. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. My dad preached, set a goal, write it down, all the things, make sure it's specific. And so I remember the time that I lost my job. And so I set my SMART goal, specific, I need a job, I need it by this date. I had all the things and nothing happened. And I thought that meant there was something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
See, you didn't get the job, there's something wrong with you. You failed at this other SMART goal, there's something wrong with you. And so adding up all these failures, I took a hit on my self-esteem. What's wrong with me? Am I a failure? And I realized, and it took a long time of trial and error, I realized I'm approaching goals the wrong way. First of all, SMART goals, when they were created in the 1980s, it was not a personal goal setting system. It was an organizational goal setting system. The A in SMART is not achievable. The original was assignable. So Audrey, we're in an organization, we're going to increase sales by 16%, and your part of that, I'm going to assign to you, you've got to get 3 more sales per month. That's going to how you're going to contribute. And so trying to and for some people, SMART goals work great. They just didn't work for me.
I like that assigned. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
So I realized through a lot of trial and error that the things that I was going after, the things that I was relentlessly chasing were not achievements, but all of my goals were achievements. I was setting achievement goals, and the things that really lit me up were experiences. So, quick example. I was talking to my family one time. I'd just done a quick weekend trip, as you often might do, to Europe. And so I got back showing pictures and stuff like that. My 11-year-old son said, "So, Dad, when are you going to take me?" "I'm not going to take you. Why would I take you to Europe? You don't even have a passport." And he said, "Well, how do I get a passport?" "Well, you got to go to the post office and get an appointment. It's going to cost whatever dollars." And he said, "So, can I get a passport?" So we get him a passport. And we ended up taking a trip, 2-week trip to Europe. But part of that was I gave him the responsibility to decide where we're going to go. Europe is a big place. There are a lot of things to do and see.
Yeah. Yes.
And so he chose, we're going to Paris because I want to see the catacombs. I want to go to the Louvre. And then let's go to Italy because I want to go to the Colosseum and I want to see Pompeii and Mount Vesuvius. And then I lived in Portugal many years ago. And so we were going to kind of top things off with Portugal, but he did a good part of the planning. It wasn't going to Europe that was exciting to me. It was the experience that I had with my son and deepening that relationship. And as soon as I realized, oh, I'm not an achievement goal person, I'm an experience goal person.
Wow.
It changed finally at age a lot of years. I'm in my 50s. I had never been excited about a goal before. And I texted my brother, the one who didn't do well on The Price is Right. But I texted him and I said, I have never been this excited about a goal. And so I started analyzing. I started reverse engineering what worked with these things that I was accomplishing and chasing relentlessly that didn't work with the SMART goals. And that's where I came up with this stupid goal framework. I had a coach one time who said, you can't just stand for something. You have to stand against something. And I thought, well, I'm going to stand against SMART goals because they're toxic. They didn't make me better in any way. They only made me feel worse about myself and my comparison. Here's what I did with my SMART goal, and here's what somebody else did with their SMART goal. There's something wrong with me. False. We're just using the wrong framework in the way that we set goals.
Okay. So then can you break down each component then of stupid goals?
Yeah. So I've taken the things about SMART goals that didn't work for me and I put them into stupid as an acronym. So first of all, a goal has to be a stretch. If you're wanting to lose a pound, that's not much of a stretch. So let's make it substantial. Let's make it something that's a little bit maybe scary. So that's number one. It's got to be something that's going to make you a better person. P is tangible. We want to be able to really describe the result that we're going to get, whether that's a visual image, maybe it's kind of thinking through what's the experience going to be or whatever it is. There are 4 different things that people get motivated by, but we're going to make those things tangible. If you do a vision board, for example, that's one way that you can make your goals tangible. Let's make it as specific as possible so you know when you achieve it. U is unshakable. This is something that SMART doesn't talk about. Unshakable, and it's not that the goal itself is unshakable. I'm unshakable. I am not going to give up on this goal, which is one of the reasons that it has to be, we'll get to I, inspiring, but it has to be inspiring. It has to be exciting for you. So many of the goals that you've probably set have been somebody else's goals. Your doctor comes and says, oh, you probably should reduce your cholesterol intake, your fatty triglycerides or whatever. And so then you have this goal from your doctor. I'm going to improve my health markers. But that's not your goal. That's your doctor's goal. If you're not motivated, if you're not excited, if you're not interested, which is why the gyms on January 2nd are full. And by January 31st, they're not because it wasn't their goal in the first place. So that's unshakable. You are so committed to it, you're not going to give up on it until you get to it. P is possible. For example, sometimes I'll ask on social media, what is something that you would want? I want $1 billion. Actually, I had one person who said, I want someone to give me $1 billion. Okay, no, you don't. That's not likely. What billionaire is going to come up and say, Audrey, you don't have any reason, or I don't have any reason for this, but I'm going to give you $1 billion. Just, I wouldn't put that in the realm of a possible goal. Right. So running a 4-minute mile is possible. finishing a marathon is possible. Writing a book is possible. If somebody's done it, it's possible. And we could talk about impossible goals. There are reasons for that we might explore at some point. But in general, we want a goal that we know, we have evidence somebody somewhere has achieved it. Because then we know if Audrey's created a podcast, maybe I can create a podcast too. And so somebody somewhere is at least going to be available as a resource. I mentioned is inspiring. It has to light you up. It has to be exciting. And so many times in our lives, we lose sight of what lights us up. We live for our parents. Parents tell us what we want and don't want. Teachers, bosses, partners, friends, and we forget to honor the things that we want. So we need a goal that's inspiring to us. And then D is one of the biggest shifts. SMART goals tells you that the goal is the result. Stupid goals tells you that development is the result. I don't care whether you finish the marathon. It's who you become in the process of preparing for the marathon. Because if you use the marathon as an example, your starting line is narrow, couple feet maybe on the marking on the ground. Then you've got 26.2 miles of becoming, and the end result, crossing that finish line, if that's what you want. So many times I hear people, when they achieve something, they realize that's it. That's all there is to it. It doesn't excite them like they thought it was going to. They're chasing this imagined feeling. And so we're not focusing on the feeling that you think you're going to get when you become the pilot, or when you become the book author, or you become the marathoner. We're really leaning in to who are you becoming in the process of accomplishing whatever the target is that you declare as your goal.
So can we equate that then to enjoying the journey then, and not the destination?
Right.
Okay.
Well, the journey, a marathon, again, it's 26.2 miles is the journey.
Mm-hmm.
The destination is one step. And if you're looking for that step, well, just shortcut, go to that step, get a picture, photo finish, you on the on the platform or crossing there, Photoshop a medal. That's the experience of finishing, but that feels hollow because you haven't done the journey itself. The journey is hard. It is uncomfortable. It is boring. And that's why we're going to celebrate it.
So you mentioned that traditional goals often fail. And what common pitfalls do you see with SMART goals, and how does your approach with stupid goals address those?
A lot of times we think of SMART goals as an all or nothing. So I'm going to lose 20 pounds by the end of the year. And if I'm at 19.5 pounds up, I've failed. I'm going to qualify for the Boston Marathon. And if you miss your qualifying time by a second, you failed. And so the SMART goal seems to be focused more on, it's a binary, yes or no. You achieved it, you failed. And enough of those you failed starts to feel like you're a failure as opposed to you're a success. So instead, what if we focus on the person that I am today is better because I started my business a year and a half ago in a lot of different ways. The person that I am today is better because of the focus that I've put on my health, for example. And so I'm not looking at a temporary setback. If you miss the qualifying time by a second, that just means next time with the continued training, I'm almost guaranteed to hit it. And so celebrate the successes. So many times if we're climbing a mountain, we look at think about climbing Everest. You see the peak, and it's a multiple day journey. The whole process is very long, but you keep looking at the peak and you realize that that's just so far away. But turn around and look back. Look where you've been.
Yes.
And sometimes it's important to just look back and realize I have killed it. I have knocked it out of the park. I've done some amazing things. Celebrate that. And that might even be the boost that you need to make your summit attempt.
Yes, absolutely. I had my swim lesson last night, and kind of the same thing. And the instructor was like, look how far you come. And I looked back, and I had swam, it was 2/3 of the pool. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. That I gave
great.
me energy and encouragement to make that last leg, so to speak, of
Right.
the journey. Yes.
And when you think of a goal as a all or nothing thing, one of the things that I used to do with my SMART goals was I'm going to work out every day. And then day 2 would hit and I'm sore from yesterday because I'm doing something new, or maybe I'm sick, or maybe I'm traveling and I don't have a chance to go to the gym. And all of a sudden, well, this year is ruined. I guess I'll wait till next year to start no. So So you can build in, there are two things that make it really easy. Number one, take a small step every day towards your goal. Maybe it's, I have one of my small steps that I do every day is one push-up. Now, almost every day I do more than one push-up, but it's a small step that's moving me towards my health goal.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a big thing, and then build failure in that 5 out of 7 days, I'm going to walk 10,000 steps, or over the course of the week, I'm going to walk 70,000 steps. And so if Monday is a bad day, I can make up for it on Tuesday. If I'm feeling great on Wednesday, I can exceed so that I'm setting myself up for a successful end of the week. So if we think about the goal as a process instead of an event, then we're much better. We set ourselves up better for success than, well, I failed. I didn't get that sale. I guess I'm not going to hit my target for the month or whatever. It's a process. And look back. What did you learn? How did you grow? How are you better today than you were then? And give yourself some credit for the good things that you've done.
Yes, absolutely. So then how does the Stupid Goals framework help mid-career professionals? You mentioned that you work with men mid-career who feel stuck or at a dead end in their careers.
We start with, what do you want? And like I was saying, a lot of times we have not paid attention to what we want. I was working with a client and I said, what do you want? He's so mad at his employer and he's ready. I'm waiting for the last straw so that I can walk out.
His responsibility and not his, right? It'll be the boss's fault, not his.
Oh, sure. It's the boss. And there's some reasons that he feels the way that he does. When I asked him what he wants, he doesn't know what he wants. He has kind of this framework. And so I've given him some exercises on how do you find the passion. He was telling me about a content creator that he follows that has a passion for KitchenAid mixers. So my client is asking, do you just have this natural inclination for KitchenAid mixers, or does something happen that you decide, that's my thing? I'm excited about KitchenAid mixers. Well, I'll tell you, I think it's maybe a little bit of both. You find something that you're naturally good at, something that you have an aptitude for. And so one of my passions, as you know, is Stupid Goals. And it's because I found some success with them. I found how it works for me and hasn't worked for at least the SMART goals haven't worked for other people. And I feel like I've got a message that can help people have a better life. And so step one is, if you don't know what you want, then figure that out. As soon as you know what you want, then start taking steps. Small steps, big steps, doesn't matter, but start taking steps towards that thing that you want. And that's going to put you on the path towards your goal, even before you formally establish something as a goal by writing it down and putting it on your vision board or whatever process you use.
Moving on to books and writing, then your book, 21 Days to Success Through Networking, uses a fictional character. Is it Nick Roten or Nick Roten?
And so this was my co-author, Ron, had written a book called Networking Your Way to Success. He had this character, it was a caricature, kind of like a Carnival Barker type person. And he called that character Nick Roten, which is networking spelled backwards.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So that's why the odd name.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty cool. So you use that to convey networking principles. What was the rationale behind this narrative approach, and how has it resonated with readers?
One of my favorite stories. So first of all, I wrote the book as an introvert approaching networking. Ron, the co-author, based on his previous book, Extrovert, that's just in his blood. He loves meeting people. And so I wrote it from that perspective. Okay. And it's a story instead of a lecture. And I liked that approach because I can read somebody's story or listen to somebody's story. And this is why social media is so popular. We hear people's stories and we think, that's something that I can do, or something that'll work for me, or something that I should avoid. So I was sitting in church, and there's a young man sitting next to me, somebody I knew, not well, but he had fallen on some hard times. He was homeless, separated from his wife and I think daughter. And I just had the thought, give him a copy of your book. And so I said, I don't know if this will be helpful, but here's a book that I think might give you something that you can work with. And he took it. And a few weeks later, he sent me a message and he said, that book changed my life.
Oh, wow.
Well, that lights me up. So I said, tell me more. So he was working at a healthcare institution, a hospital or something like that. And they were doing like a 5K event. And he happens to be near the CEO. And he used some of the principles one of the principles is serve just to serve, not because you want to get something out of the interaction. And so he has this positive interaction. Actually, I think he was a server in the cafeteria in the facility. And so he had some interactions with the CEO, ends up next to him at this 5K thing. And this kid had such a great attitude, good conversation with the CEO, who then asked him, what's your story? What's your plan? And this kid says, I want to, and he kind of explains what his vision was. Mm-hmm. And he said, and this is all based, he attributes this to the things that he learned in the book. He tells the CEO, this is what I'm looking for. CEO says, I'll put in a good word for you. Apply for any job that you're qualified for at the company. Put me down as a reference.
Wow.
And so now he's in a supervisory position. He's changed his life. Being a part of that is just so rewarding.
Yes, that's awesome. So when you're in the other book, then in Stupid Goals Blueprint, the antidote to toxic smart goals, you challenge conventional goal setting wisdom. We talked about. What feedback have you received from readers from that? Who have implemented your framework, similar to the gentleman you just mentioned with the other book.
One of the things that it's so fun for me to run into people who hate goal setting as much as I did. And I was talking to a kid last week at his wedding reception. He told me the same thing. I hate SMART goals. And so having somebody like that who can then reframe goal setting and realize the important thing about the reframe is not just that you reframe goals. It's that you can realize that I really can achieve anything I want. That realization is so exciting to me because there's so many of us that are living below our potential. And the biggest problem, if you want to call it that, is we're just not speaking our goal setting language. As soon as we start speaking our goal setting language, then it becomes very easy to set goals, to find goals that we want, to set goals that we get excited about, and then to go after those relentlessly until we achieve them.
So moving on to podcasting and audience engagement. On your podcast, The Unstuck Career, you discuss strategies for career advancement. What reoccurring themes or challenges do you observe among your listeners, and how do you address them?
One of the most common themes that I see is people have the fear to take a step. And so we talk about that a lot. And the spoiler alert, there's not a way to overcome the fear. There's not a way to eliminate the fear. The strategy, though, is you give your fear a voice, but you just kick it out of the driver's seat. Yeah, I hear you. The fear is there to protect you. The fear is there because, well, what if you look foolish? I understand. I might look foolish by posting this social media post or by writing this book or whatever. And I'm okay. I will survive. I'll be okay if I look foolish. I'll be okay if somebody criticizes me. I'll be okay if my haircut is really bad. I'll be okay if I go out and my shirt and pants don't match, which these are all things that have hung me up in the past. And so acknowledge the fear. Don't try to suppress it. Think about it like a beach ball. If you've been in the water with a beach ball and if you try to push it below the surface of the water, you can do it, but at some point it's going to pop back up. If you just let it just kind of rest there, it has almost no impact. Yeah, I see you there. I'm just not going to pay attention to you. I'm not going to follow your advice. And the chattering doesn't stop, but it becomes less noticeable. Plus, if you feed the fear, it's going to grow. And every single time, 100% of the times that I have seen this massive fear in front of me and I've actually taken a step into it, I realize it's smoke and mirrors. It is so thin that all of a sudden on the other side, I realized I was afraid of that. And things that could be horrifically embarrassing, for example, that was it. That wasn't that bad. So that is one of the themes that comes up all the time. How do I deal with the fear? And so in my content, my podcast, my social media posts, a lot of times I deal with that. And it's just a reminder. You got to take a step.
Yeah, absolutely. So then how do you, because other people have podcasts, so this might be a good question to answer is like, how do you incorporate your listener feedback into your podcast content? And can you share an example where audience input significantly influenced an episode?
Well, one of the things that I used to do, I post twice a week, and I used to do a solo episode on Mondays. This was my way of kind of kicking off the week. Let me teach you how to deal with difficult people. Let me teach you how to overcome fear. Let me tell you how to set a goal. And that would be about 15 to 20 minutes. And then Friday, I called it Friday Fun. Friday Fun, I would come up with a random question. I used to have a podcast idea deck of cards, and I just pull a card and I would speak to that. What is one of your guilty pleasures? And I would talk about that. And then I had a coach who said, what if you tied those Friday Fun episodes back to the work that you do? And that got to be kind of a fun challenge. So how do you turn a guilty pleasure into getting unstuck? So I had fun with that. But then I started being approached by people who wanted to be guests on my podcast. I thought, well, I don't have time. I shifted my format. So Mondays have been guest episodes where we talk about, usually it's the expertise of somebody else. The episode that came out, there's one that came out recently where somebody talked about their leaning into their intuition. Such a really interesting concept because we have intuitive thoughts that a lot of times we ignore. And so we talk about that in the framework of how do you use that to get unstuck. I was still doing the Friday Fun and I thought this isn't really aligned with where I want to go. And I was getting more and more requests. I was 2-3 months out on my recorded interview podcast. I thought, what if I change my Friday, kick off the weekend in a fun way to, it's still a short episode, but let's kick off the weekend with a solid point that's going to really up-level your life. And so I called it the Friday Focus. So Friday Focus might be something like, it's the same kind of content I had been doing, but it's just me. Let's talk about how to overcome fear. And it would be a 5-ish minute episode, just one tactic. Here's something that you can do, and have a great weekend. We'll be back Monday with an interview. And so I'm interested in seeing how that's going to play out. I booked out about a month right now, and I have more people who are reaching out saying, I want to be on the podcast. And I've got people that I'm reaching out to. Hey, I want you on a podcast. So we'll see how it all goes. And that's one of the reasons that I'm doing 2 episodes a week. They're fairly short and gives people kind of a steady drip of positivity. And let's find actual tactics that you can implement that are going to improve the quality of your life, moving past that fear into the life that you always thought you deserved.
Well, that's amazing. I love that. Balancing a career, authorship, podcasting, being a father of 5 is impressive enough. What strategies do you employ to maintain this balance, Ken? And what advice, because I always like to ask advice from my guests, do you offer others juggling multiple responsibilities?
To be able to rely on yourself. That is the most important relationship that you're going to have, is the relationship with yourself. And what I've found with myself is that was the relationship I was neglecting. I was not telling myself the truth. What I mean by that is I would say something like, I really want to get in shape, which was not true. I wanted the result, but I didn't want the effort. And so I started telling myself the truth. I would say things like, I'll get to that tomorrow. My wife would ask me to do something. Hey, could you drop off this package? Yeah, I'll take care of it tomorrow. And then I wouldn't do it. And sometimes I would say, yeah, I'll take care of it later. And I had zero intention. I wasn't trying to be deceitful. It wasn't a priority. So the 2 techniques that I use that have been phenomenal in me recreating and solidifying that relationship with myself is, number 1, I have my daily streaks. That, like Duolingo, for example, there are a lot of apps that will tell you how many days in a row that you work towards your goal. And that's all this is. So I have my push-up, my daily walk, I want to do one thing at least every day to nurture my network. I want to do one thing every day to send a kind message to somebody, whether that's a handwritten note, a text message, email. But the things that I want to incorporate in my life, I have a daily streak for each of those that I keep track of. So that's one thing. The second thing is I have a to-do list. And if I put it on the to-do list for that day, it gets done. And that's the commitment that I've had to have for myself. So when it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm exhausted, but I still have one thing that I need to get done, I'm going to get it done because I told myself I'm going to get it done. But what that means also is I did something really hard today. And I realized that it wasn't as hard as I thought. Yesterday, when I made the commitment that I was going to do it, I put it on my to-do list for today because yesterday I didn't want to do it. Tomorrow, Ken, he'll deal with it. He'll take care of it. And because it's on the list, I absolutely am going to get it done. I wrote a very large check and that stung. And so
I'm hurting for you.
But I put it on my list because I know myself enough now that I am not going to let that slide. I'm not going to violate my trust that I'm building in myself by not doing something that I've committed to myself that I'm going to do. So I've told my wife, I've told other people as well, if you want me to do something, this is the code. Ask me what day I can get it done and have me put it on my list for that day, and it will get done. My wife today is taking cupcakes to her work friends. And so A week
Did you
ago,
make those cupcakes?
I did 30 cakes. So she asked me, when do you need to make the cupcakes so I can take them to work on Friday? I said, I need to make them Thursday. She said, can you put that on your list? It was on my list for Thursday. So yesterday, as I have sales calls and I have conversations and podcast recording and classes that I'm teaching, all the things that I have going on, I also have make 30 cupcakes. And that everything got done. So those are the two tips that I would give. I'm looking for a resource that combines those two things where you can have a daily streak with a streak tracker with a to-do list. If I find it, then I would be happy to share that with anybody. Otherwise, maybe I'll make it. And
Yeah, I was thinking that you get with an engineer and get that creative computer scientist.
but it goes back to that unshakable.
Mhm.
If I make the commitment that I'm going to do something towards my goal, which is where nurturing my network, for example, I am going to do it. I'm going to do something every single day. If it's on my to-do list, if it's in my streaks, game changer.
Wow, that's awesome. That tied right back into your stupid goals. I like how you wound that back up. So Ken, how can we get in touch with you, get the books, follow that podcast?
Best thing is if you go to my website, kenwilliamscoaching.com. I don't do very creative spelling. So it's just like you would think Ken, Ken Williams, WILLIAMS coaching, COACHING.com. If you want to listen to the podcast, /listen. And I've got a link up at the top that'll take you to the podcast. It'll give you all the episodes and highlight the current one. And then if you want to learn more about stupid goals, go to kenwilliamscoaching.com/stupid. And I'll send you a stupid goal framework.
That is awesome. Chop Squad, you have your marching orders. This has been wonderful. Thanks, Ken. I really appreciate you chopping it up with us today.
Yes, it's been so much fun. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, you are welcome.
Thank you for listening to The Business Chop. We hope that you were able to glean valuable information from our guests and that you will download and share this podcast. Your rating and review is much appreciated. To go deeper with our guests, please visit their website and social channels. To learn more about us, please visit businesschop.info or altogether.biz, where we will help you expand your brand.